Hey, it's Carl at carcoart.com and sidehustleartist.com. In this video, we're going to look at why we compare ourselves to other artists and the detrimental effect it can have on our productivity and self-esteem, but also look at the major benefits it can bring to us as artists. So by the end of this video, you'll only ever be comparing yourself with other artists to elevate, motivate, and inspire yourself as an artist rather than stagnate, procrastinate, and feeling incapable of being a successful artist. For a lot of artists, it's a natural impulse to be inspired by other people's work, as it helps to provide a guiding light in terms of figuring out what we're actually capable of creatively. And it's a natural human trait that we often need to compare with others as a tool for evaluating ourselves. And drawing comparisons is not necessarily a bad thing because it can help raise our own awareness and our confidence, and it can also be pretty motivating for a lot of us. However, where it gets a bit nasty for your self-esteem is when you're comparing way too much, because it can lead to feeling envious, feeling intimidated, and even amplify this sense of feeling incapable of producing something original and unique. So as a result, this can lead to anxiety, overwhelm, procrastination, and perhaps regret. So there's something important to note right from the get-go. There is a danger in comparing yourself with artists who, for example, maybe 10 or 15 years ahead of you in terms of experience and producing and selling their work. Also, there's a very good chance that the artist you are comparing yourself, they're probably putting in 8, 9, 10 hours a day and perhaps have people assisting them as well. And if you are only just beginning to start your side hustle, it's more than likely you're still establishing a consistent time schedule to work your art. So you may have other obligations like family, taking kids to school, perhaps even working a 9-to-5 job, which also requires commuting to work. So that's a couple of hours there, commuting back and forth. You may have to organize groceries, run errands, there's cleaning, cooking, and the list go on. So consider that the artists you may be comparing yourself to have sacrificed different things in their life than you have, and you've sacrificed a whole bunch yourself, which is potentially very different to another artist. And perhaps consider this question: is what you're comparing yourself with in line with your future plans as an artist? If I can offer something from my own experience, it's that as you invest more and more into developing yourself as an artist, you begin to raise your own awareness of what is possible and what you can actually make possible. So as a result, you evolve as an artist and feel less threatened, or at least less intimidated by what other artists are doing, because you've begun to develop your own independent voice in your work. And when you start to focus on your future, your plans as an artist, what tends to happen is then you begin to look at other artists' work objectively and encouragingly and with appreciation, rather than with negative comparisons or feeling this scarcity that there isn't enough to go around, or there isn't enough room for you to stake your claim as an artist among the many great artists that you're surrounded by. So for example, I've looked at other artwork and even heard songs as another example and thought to myself, well, this is what I would have done differently, or this is how I see it differently if it was a painting, for example, and this is where I would have gone with it. And this is thinking objectively and encouragingly, because you're opening your mind up to possibility instead of beating yourself down and feeling inferior. So you have to stop beating yourself up if you've been doing that, and realize that you have something quite unique to say, because if you can celebrate that, then what tends to happen is you make it easy for yourself to celebrate other artists' unique voices instead of belittling yourself with harsh comparisons. And at the end of the day, it's very difficult to find yourself in your work if you're stuck in imitating others. And there is a difference between focusing on success and focusing on expression, and both are important. But if you're just merely chasing success and comparing yourself with other artists for the pure principle of achieving success without a clear objective, then you'll most surely start wearing yourself out. So put what you deem as being successful into perspective and define what it means to be successful, and try to better understand what is motivating you to compare yourself with other artists. So for example, if you want to get your work represented by a particular gallery, then run alongside an artist who's achieved what you're aiming for, who will inspire you to achieve the same kind of result. And if you're looking to focus on producing art that you can sell to interior designers, then your idea of success is going to be very different. If you aim to simply acquire a particular technique or skill, then your idea of success will be different again. If you're constantly comparing yourself with other artists, negatively, then in essence you're competing, and this in turn, it exposes you to your own limitations. But don't get me wrong, having a competitive spirit is a great trait to have, and it can push you forward and help you improve. However, if competition is making you feel inferior, then you're really you're on the wrong track. It may seem a little ironic that for some artists, comparing themselves to too much is a way of avoiding having to take on responsibility of being successful. And what I mean is that it can be a perfect antidote for self-sabotage. Therefore, less is required from you if you know you don't have expectations or personal accountability. So consider your mindset around that as well. And if you can, get yourself a mentor. See, the great thing about having a mentor is that he or she, they'll encourage and support and help you to grow and show you how to operate more effectively and efficiently. So in doing this, they help you to redirect your focus and keep you focused on your strengths and ensure that you're less distracted by your weaknesses, which can often lead to the desperate need to always be comparing yourself unnecessarily to other artists. And another great thing about having a mentor is you can learn a lot from their mistakes, therefore making them great candidates in assisting you with problem solving and overcoming some major challenges that you may be faced with along the way. And it goes without saying that a mentor can share a lot of their wisdom and teachings, but also provide you with more self-awareness, because they can see things in and about you that sometimes you can't reach because you're not actually aware of them. And additionally, a mentor will challenge you and assist in bringing the leader out in you. And when you become a leader in your own right, you begin to identify with yourself a lot better, which requires less of you trying to identify with other artists in order to validate yourself or your abilities. You also want to make sure that if you are comparing yourself with other artists, that you are comparing yourself with a sense of clarity. And what I mean is that people often have a very distorted comparisons, and this also extends to the buyers of your work. And I've experienced somebody approach me at an exhibit and asked me why my work was slightly more expensive than another artist who was producing different work on a similar size canvas. And my reply to them was, well, thanks for your inquiry, but you're not comparing apples with apples. You're simply comparing apples with underpants. And my point was not to downplay the quality of the other artist's work. It was to make my exhibit visitor aware that they were drawing a very distorted comparison. So this takes us back to a previous point that I made, in that some artists perhaps have 10 or 15 years more experience than you and may even have assistants helping them out. So be aware of you and what you're comparing yourself to or being compared to. And there is always going to be something to learn. There's always going to be people that may be able to do things better than you can, but don't let that develop into feelings that can ambush your creativity, because instead you should allow it to motivate and encourage and drive you to dig deeper into your own work. And one thing I always try to remember is that I'm not in the business of being an artist because I have an objective to outproduce, outperform, or outprice anyone else. I'm in the business of being an artist to create, honor my imagination, and fill people's walls with some kind of inspiration. Be happier with what you're currently learning as an artist and less distracted by what you're currently producing. I hope you got a lot out of this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up below. If you didn't, then give it a thumbs down, because that's okay too. Better still, leave a comment in the comment section below and tell me how this video has helped you. And please subscribe to my channel and click the bell icon. That way you'll be notified when I have new content available. And thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to connecting with you again real soon and helping you advance your career as an artist. Till next time, your art buddy, Carl.